Well, we got to keep things rolling along here. So next we have the final parts to finish off Cranky. A couple of really nice NOS Briggs and Stratton parts. So this one is just not very exciting, but it was missing because of the next part really. It's just a little governor link. I'm not too sure exactly where that fits just yet. Well, one end is going to attach to this, which is the governor blade, which attaches underneath the shroud to the coil. Actually, it'll sit this way. And on mine, it's broken off just right there. So it just has one hole and it's missing the others. So that's not good. I think that's everything we need to get it working properly. From what I can see on the parts diagram, which is not really clear where everything goes, it just kind of shows the parts around it. So hopefully it'll kind of just make sense. But first we're going to pull off the air cleaner, the shroud, and the carburetor, because we're also going to go in and change the breather gasket.
Desert Dust Bowl song, where the billman will call you almost every week. Which bills to pay today, what's left in the fridge to eat. Where stars frame the night, born out of dreams, just close enough to give hope, but too far to reach. I left there with that hope on fire, backseat for a bed in search for something brighter. Down in that Dust Bowl Valley, with that Dust Bowl Valley sun, I'm going back to the place I ran from, where the earth and the men been hardened by life in the sun. Like my old man, he's 63, still swings a hammer, still tougher than me. What about my mother? Well, the last I heard, she was strung out on Demerol and some of those neighbors. I miss my good friend, look how far we come. Oh, settling down now, I guess we're worn out from the run. Down in that Dust Bowl Valley, with that Dust Bowl Valley sun. Now I'm headed back, got the radio on. They're still playing Haggard's working man song. And I'm coming full circle, trying to make my peace with my past and the ghosts that still haunt me. Remembering the good times more than the bad. That Dust Bowl country, heart-worn land. I'm going back to the place where I ran from. Palm tree, broken roads, desert Dust Bowl sun. Down in that Dust Bowl Valley, with that Dust Bowl Valley sun. Take me on back to that Dust Bowl Valley, Dust Bowl Valley sun.
Oh, and then a spring between those two. Oh, okay. cable there. There's a lot more to figure out here, but this linkage goes between these two. Open and close the throttle. Well, it looks like it's a tale of 3 horsepowers tonight. It's got both 1964 3 horsepower Briggs on the bench, but other than year of manufacture and power output, they're actually pretty different. This one was built in June, so it has the earlier style deckling. This one built in December has the later style deckling. This one also has the fuel tank and carburetor on the opposite side, recoil start, so it's quite different actually. But I've brought Cranky back here because I've got the last few parts to finish it off, which has been a struggle. If you've been following along from the beginning, you might recall that Cranky came to me without a carburetor and without a fuel tank. So it's hard to say exactly what configuration it had from the factory. These came in a wide array of configurations. There's no fewer than 4 different methods of starting. Of course, the wind up, a recoil start, a simple rope starter, or even an electric option, 110 volt electric starter option. And there are 3, I believe, different methods for choke and throttle control. I bought what I thought was the right carburetor off of eBay, and the parts manual doesn't really show like what parts go with what configuration. There's just the carb in the middle and then a bunch of optional parts all around it, and I guess you just have to match up to what you have, which if you don't have anything, it's really tough. So I've determined that this setup is what Briggs calls choke-o-matic. So it's got one cable which controls the choke and the throttle and the shut-off all in one movement, and it's pretty common. A lot of Briggs powered equipment had this setup, so you've likely come across it, you know, if you've used any older Briggs powered equipment. So that's what this is going to be set up with, and again, the parts manual being very unhelpful, I was at a bit of a loss and I was searching for pictures of the linkage, and then I realized maybe I could just find the operating and maintenance manual online, and sure enough I was able to, and looking at the pictures there, I've been able to figure out exactly how this is supposed to go together as a choke-o-matic. There is also sort of a friction rod where you would, you know, it would just kind of stay in place, so you could adjust the speed, or a sort of a more standard, like a, what do they call it? Remote governor control, which varies with where exactly you route the throttle cable. So let's get this thing put together. So I think the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna connect the governor to, oh, that's one other point I should make. Right here, we have the shutoff wire. I do not have the shutoff switch. That actually goes on this control, where this control lever bolts up. That's where that goes. So that's gonna go on later. But for now, let's put the spring on first. The spring goes between our governor vane and our idle control. Like, this also works on the choke, but it's basically gonna be held back there by the governor vane. This is not a Briggs spring, but it's awfully close in dimensions to the stock spring, and it's not $20, so we're going to use it. I need some needle nose pliers, I think. Oh. This is just one of those things in life that's not that easy to do. There we go. Okay, so there we go. Now, I've put that on the middle hole, and the reason for that is actually our throttle cable is going to route through the bracket and come along to here. Now this guy will be a little tougher, I think, to get in. I'm going to have to probably bend it a little bit and then straighten it out after. Bit par for the course at times, unless we pull this whole carb off. And I don't want to. Done it enough. I'm going to have to do it again. Okay, so now, basically when we push this cable all the way forward, that's going to open up our choke and also our throttle. And when it comes back, it allows the governor to close the throttle. If we were using this one, it's going to sit up there. And then as we pull back, that allows the throttle to come back, and actually it will hit the stop switch underneath and shut off. So from here we're off. Now we're starting to open up the throttle, but not the choke. And then as we pull all the way forward, we open the choke up. Close the choke actually. So that's how the choke-o-matic works. So tomorrow we'll fire this thing up. All right, it's time for the final governed run of old Cranky. Still waiting for the stop switch, but you know, whatever, that's not that exciting. I don't know if you can see the choke move here, but fully set up on the choke-o-matic. So choke is currently on, and let's just see how it goes. Getting close there. I think this time will be the charm. Open up the throttle. I haven't really got this bolted down that well. Whoop. I don't know how long we can run it. They're not the most convenient starting system. But it's easy. I can do this all day. Might have to. That works for me. Wish I could get rid of that squeak. I might, I don't know, traditionally with, with a Briggs recoil, you don't put any oil in there. And the part that goes in there, that's the same on this one. Yeah, I guess I could, I'll clean it up. Let's see if it's any quieter now. Oh, that's so much better. Well, the grounding wire works, so once the stop switch gets here, we'll fire that in and this thing's done, ready for sale. Sweet. Well, there's one last part to go on old Cranky here before he goes up for sale, and I'm going to try and weasel it in there without taking it too far apart, and it's this. It's the stop switch. So basically when the throttle cable pulls all the way back, this little switch grounds out the coil and stops it. So there's a wire that goes there to the coil, and then the throttle lever touches there and grounds it out, and that's that. which is why this is made of like a fiber board so that it doesn't ground out through the way it mounts. So yeah, it wasn't overly cheap. They're not easy to get a hold of. So let's see if we can get it in there without tearing this apart too far. So air filter off for access, and it actually mounts onto the same screw as the throttle lever. And I'm not entirely sure that I can get in there. Honestly, I don't see too many ways around it. I think I've got to pull it off. It'd be lovely to get this linkage off. It's not going to really cooperate, but I think now we can sneak this in from here. Maybe. I think I'm going to regret that decision. We got to get this off of here. Get rid of that brace. And then we can tip this a little bit to get rid of that linkage disconnected off of there. Pull straight out, come on. There we go. And we'll get the spring off of here too, somehow. There. And this actually really is kind of shaped to fit kind of only the one way. So that. Whoops. Let's put this on. Let's not forget that. Let's bring up here. So many hands. Okay. It's there. There we go. Okay, so you can see now the tab is right here, and when this comes back, it touches against and shuts it off. Let's get this mounted back up the same way we took it apart. Once we get this linkage done up again, the same way we got it off, and the spring, we need to remember to connect the wire off of the coil, which is right here. That's pretty critical. Okay, that goes on there. We are getting there. Tighten it up in Briggs's recommended order. 1, 2, 3. 4. Just make sure those are snugged up. Good. That's it. Jeepers. Well, like most projects around here, Cranky's been quite the journey. Harder than it probably should have been, and definitely more painful. But I'm really proud of it. It runs great. I wish the paint was a little better, but you know, honestly, I don't think I'll ever do a white engine again. It's not that easy. It's just hard to paint them white. But I'm super pleased with it. We've saved it from, I mean, it was stored outside in the mud. This thing was filthy, and look at it now. So I'm really, really pleased to be able to put this one up for sale. So goodbye to Cranky, hopefully. All right, until next time, keep it in the litter box. Cheers.